Hello everyone. I thought I would come on and do a how I put a junk journal together video. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Typical. Oh, look up. One of my more eclectic styles, but I'm going to do the sort of 8x5 size. So I'm starting with a sheet of cardstock. This is scrapbook paper or cardstock. This one is from 49 Market, and I loved it, but it's very outside my comfort zone, so I thought that would be fun to have a go with you all and see how we put this together. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this down. I want a paper with the grain going this way so that when I bend, it bends easily, as opposed to this way where it's stiffer. So I want my journal to, the spine of my journal to be with the grain. So I'm going to cut this down to 8x11 and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've cut my paper down to 8x11, so the book is going to be, or the journal is going to be 8x5.5 approximately. It's a bit bigger than 8, no, that's 8. And I've also got a piece of medium weight canvas fabric. And what I'm going to do, I've also cut another strip of or torn a strip of this canvas, 8 1/4 by just under 2 inches, which eventually will go over the spine, but that's the last thing we do. So this needs to be a little bit bigger than our card. And what I am going to do now is glue the card to the canvas. And I do this all over. And I have to be honest, this does take a bit of practice. It's not the easiest thing in the world to not to overdo it with the glue. So quite often I use a silicone brush, but I'm going to use Mod Podge for this one, just because I happen to have, sorry, not Mod Podge, this Collor tacky glue. Mod Podge would work, but this is quite runny. So it's easier to get a thin application with a brush. If I was using tacky glue, I don't want that, give me one moment. If I was using tacky glue, like Aleene's tacky glue, I would definitely use the silicone brush. But for this one, I'm going to use this. So I'm going to put a big puddle of this glue on here. Sometimes I put it directly onto there, but I'm trying to work out a way that will make this easy, I suppose, or the easiest way I can do it. So you basically don't want this too wet. And I don't always do it in one go. See, I haven't got enough glue there by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm just going to glue this. Should have done this before. So we're going to stick this bit down first, just because I don't want that glue to dry too much. Right, see if I can get some more out. It's better. This is like this is palette paper, but it's like freezer paper or something like that. So there's there's a lump of something there. Definitely don't want any lumps in it. Put some scrap paper down. Okay. Sometimes I've even used glue stick for this. A good glue stick will work just as well. And we are going to stitch this as well, so you know it is fairly secure once it's all done. Any PVA glue will work for this. Smoothing it as I go. And unfortunately I've messed that up because I've got glue on here. I'll probably just carry on, to be honest, and think of a way to rescue that. So lesson learned from me, be careful about your scrap paper. Try a bit more. Things go much more smoothly when you're not on camera, for sure. I might as well leave the errors in. I'm thinking a bit of collage paper down there will look fine. So I'm going right to the edges as best I can. Move that out of the way. Smooth the rest of that over. So that is quite firmly glued down. If you've got any little gaps, you can just pop them in like that. But as I say, it's not vital because we'll be stitching around the edge anyway. If you're not going to stitch, just make sure you've got glue right to the edges. So the very, very next important thing is to let this dry completely. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to find something like this just to put along this edge, just to hide that. I'll show you how I manage that in the next video. Okay, so this is dry. I say these because I've prepared another one as well. Same company's scrapbook paper. It's an old one. I'm not sure if this is still available. I think this one probably is. I've covered up my error, if you want to put it like that, with some vintage typewritten paper, and I've put it in 2 other places just so that it looks meant, rather than covering up a mistake. And the next thing I'm going to do is cut around the edge. I'm going to do it right up to the edge. If you want to leave a little gap all the way around, that's up to you. Let's do it close to the edge. I sometimes do this with a rotary cutter. I figured not everybody would have one of those, so I'm just going to do it with scissors. Trouble is with scissors, you can, like I did there, I've just cut the top off there. But not enough for it to matter. So we haven't folded this yet. I don't actually fold these that I make in this style. Let's try and bend them, as you'll see. So that's our book cover. I stitch mine, and you know, if you can do that, I think it's preferable. You can see there's the odd little area where it's probably not stuck quite down. You can go back round and re-stick. I should be zigzagging around the edge of this, but before I do that, I'm going to think about whether I want pockets on the inside, because if I do, it's helpful to stitch those in at the same time as I stitch here. So no stitching yet. I'm going to cut the other one out and then think about the pockets, and I'll be back. So I do want to put a pocket on the inside, and I also want to put a nameplate on the front here, and I often tend to put mine at the bottom. It could go there quite happily, but I just like the way that looks there. So the way I would do this, stretch this out again to approximately there. It's not vital. Just marking with a pencil where the holes need to be, because I'm going to do this with fix it with brads. 2 little brads here. And then I'm going to measure. I want everything to be level, so I'm just going to measure the hole. So that's 1 7/8, 1 7/8. Just make our holes on the pencil marks. And then I also like this to, the bottom edge particularly, to be set. So I use a little bit of glossy accents. When I say set, I mean glued. Oh, it's not going to come out. There we go. Not much. I don't want it to squidge out, but I just want a little bit on the metal, and it will help it adhere to the paper. You can miss this step out if you haven't got glossy accents or a glue that will work. I've got a plug in there, but we've got a few bits on there. That should be enough, to be quite honest. So I'm just popping that over the holes, taking my brads, before I tighten that up completely, or as hard as I can, I measure again from the bottom here. So that's 1 3/8 plus the 16th, 1 3/8 plus the 16th. Just level that up. I turn it over. I'm using my metal ruler just to squish those brads as flat as I can make them. So that's that. That bottom piece will glue. So my pocket will now cover the brads, and I'm going to use this cut off. I'm going to use this piece to make a pocket. This is going to be quite a lot for my sewing machine to go through, but I think it'll do it. Just going to round the top off. So that'll sit on there like so, and then when I zigzag round it'll catch this in. I'll show you how I make sure that happens in a moment. I just want to take the white edge off this. It's a bit of distress ink. I think it's walnut stain. We can decorate this, but we could do that either before or after, but there's quite a lot on there, so that's not too bad. I like to put a bit of glue over these. And obviously we need that to dry before we do anything else. Just turn that over. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to make a little card to go in here, and it measures 5/8 by 1 3/4, I believe. Yeah. So again, I'm going to use a piece of this. I quite like to choose an orangey bit. So I'm going to go for this bottom piece here. So 1 3/4. By 5/8. Check that that fits in. It's a little bit long, so let's just shave a little bit off the corner of that. Okay. And I will glue 2 of these together to make a double thickness. What might be a good idea is to give somebody a choice. So yeah, I might do that piece. Have the writing, the white or the orange. Put that there. So let's just glue these together. Then I just snip the corners off, just a tiny bit. Sorry, hope you can hear me. Oh, gone all skew with. I'm so sorry. And then that will slide into there. Somebody to put their own title on. Actually, I quite like the writing. Okay, so this glue has dried, So what I'm going to do is stitch around this edge just with a straight stitch. Flatten the stitching out a little bit, and then I'm just going to tack this in with a bit of this PVA. Bring it right up to the edge. And then once that's dry, I will zigzag around the whole thing. So I'm going to do that and then I'll be back. So I'm showing you a little bit more with this one. I don't want to fold this in half, so I don't want a crease down here. Certainly not at the moment, but I do want to roughly know what my front's going to look like. So I just sort of train it just gently. So I keep a curve here at the moment, and I'm lining these edges up. And with this one, it's about making a decision again. I'll show you this one finished. Well, not finished, obviously. So this is this one with the one of these on the front. I can't remember what they're called. The pocket is stitched in. I've gone as close to the edge as I dare without going over the edge. You will get a bit of fraying, but with the glue and the zigzagging, that won't go all the way in. This is not a shabby journal. This is a fairly neat journal, which is sort of more my style. So this one is going to look similar. I've just got to decide on pockets again, but that depends where I put the nameplate, whatever you want to call it. What I'd really like on this one is one of those Tim Holtz ones, ornate ones, but I haven't got any of those at the moment. This would be fine. I'd probably put it more in the middle. Maybe something like that. Or we could add some fabric on here to make it a bit different. Just going to have a think about this one, and we'll be back shortly. So I have been thinking about this, and I've decided I'm going to put a bit of lace on this one. I'm going to wrap it around the spine. This is a bit of trim from an old tablecloth, and it's going to go something like this. And then I'm going to put that here in the same way that I did with the other one. So the first thing I'm going to do is iron this so that all these little bits are flat, and then I'm going to glue it in place. Okay, so I've ironed this and I've lined it up roughly where I want it. I've chopped the top and the bottom off, and I've popped a bit of glue under this point here, which is in the middle. And I'm just going to carry on as best I can, really. So I'm going to put glue on each of these. This is my starting point. going to do some stitching again, so not too worried. Okay. So let's just flip that over. Want to stretch it so it lies flat. And I've got a sort of similar, it's not going to be exact, but a similar bit either way. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is put some glue down the middle here. A little bit. Right, so I've got these crosses. Let's do that first. Anywhere where there's a solid bit of crochet. This is like handmade. Okay, that's that. Then I'm going to go down these ones. See where that leaves us. Helpful to have a little bit of give in the middle, but not too much. And then I'm just going to do this edge. It's not exactly straight, but that's the nature of hand crochet. Okay, so that's going to look quite cool, I think, hopefully. Get that back in. So what I will do now is let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to put some clear thread, some white thread in my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew down this edge, all the way down this edge and down this edge. Then I'm going to put this on in the same way that I did the previous one. I'm going to trim this off, and then I'm going to zigzag round, but with my darker thread, which is a grey. So I'm going to go away and do all of that, and then I'll be back.